Hey guys, and welcome to episode number 12, where we are going to take care of the inventory system. So I mentioned in the last episode that with our current setup with the weapon database script, everything is pretty much working, right? Except for the fact that whenever we switch between these weapons, we always reset the magazine and ammo size to the original size, and that's because we don't store the current value that we have once we are in play mode. And so what we need to do is we need to create a separate list that takes these elements and manipulate the data in the second list. And the reason why we need to do that is because we don't want to change any of the original data that we have inside our weapon database script, okay? We only want to read the data that we have here and then manipulate it in a separate second list, okay? And we are going to do that in today's episode. Before we get started, I already have implemented the inventory system, so let me quickly show you the results of that. So we have basically still the same setup as before. We can still walk around, we can still switch between weapons, but notice now that when I shoot the first weapon and switch over to the second weapon and then again back to the first weapon, you see it stored the ammo size or the magazine size. And if I switch over to the second weapon, empty the magazine completely and then back to the first weapon and then back again to the second weapon, you see also stored for the second weapon the magazine size. And so if I reload that, it also updates the ammo size just as before, but again if I switch to the first weapon back to the second weapon, you see it also stored the current ammo size that we have. Okay, so all of that is working. And by the way, it seems like my FPS drops got a little bit better, so I purchased a new thermal paste from my CPU and applied that. Seems like it has improved it a little bit. I also cleaned up one more time my graphic card. Yeah, still have some small lags, but it seems to be a little bit better than it was in the last episodes. Alright, so let's get started. We save here everything, and then the first thing we need to do is to head over to guns data. So inside here I create a new int called original magazine size, and then also inside the argument list I create a new int called underscore original magazine size, and simply said here inside public guns data, hey, original magazine size should be equal to underscore original magazine size. So basically what we already are doing here, or did here. I will come back to this in just a moment, why I actually added here a new int. The next thing you need to do is to head over, once you have retyped that, to your player. Here inside the here key, select the player, click on add component, new script, and then create a new script called inventory. I already did that, and I will explain here everything what I have added to the script. So the first thing I did was to create a public static called inventory, and then I added here an instance, and then I also added here the private function called awake, and here I said if instance is set to nil, well, then set the instance to this. And I will explain instances in just a moment, just in case you have never heard of them before, never used them before. And the next thing I did, I also create a new list called inventory, and I used the guns data. I'm not sure if you're remembering that, but we already did basically the same thing inside the weapon database script. Here I said public list guns data guns, right? Or we said that. So you might ask, why are we repeating ourselves? Why do we need to add the same list again here to our inventory script? Well, the reason why I'm doing that, or why we need to do that, inside our weapon database, we use the approach where we basically render that inside the Unity editor so that we can dynamically add new guns, right? And inside the inventory script, we will use a different approach. So down here inside the start function, what we do instead of like adding the data on our own inside the Unity editor, we say inventory add weapon database.instance.guns, and I added simply the first gun and the second gun. You can use here any gun you want. You don't really need to use just the first gun. Just in case you're wondering. And as you can see, I'm using here instance as well. So inside weapon database, I also create a public static weapon database instance, and I also add here the awake function and said also if the instance is 0, set the instance to this. Now inside the inventory system, I can then say weapon database.instance.guns and can immediately grab all the data that we have inside the guns list. Okay, So this is just a different approach to what we already did before with the serialized fields. So inside our player move script, we said, for example, serialized feed shooting shoot script, and then inside start we said shoot script equals to get component shooting, and we can do that because the player move script is attached to the same game object as the shooting script. So both approaches will give you the exact same result basically, except that with instances you can dynamically use any script anywhere, okay, once you have established an instance. So for example, I have inside the player move script no real reference to our weapon database as far as I know. But since we have added the instance here to a weapon database, what I can do now, I can simply say weapon database dot instance and then guns, and I can grab any gun I want. Okay, so that's a much more easier way to handle multiple scripts. I prefer instances much more because, just like I said, once you have added the logic to a script, you can grab it pretty much from anywhere. And when it comes to the serialized feed shooting script, shoot script method, where you then initialize the shoot script via get component, this works just fine, and it's also lesser code if you compare it to instance, but at the same time you need to retype that everywhere where you want to access the shoot script. And with instances you don't need to do that. Hope that makes sense, and hope you understand now instances better. Okay, so we have talked about instances, and just like I said, we are grabbing here the first gun, then the second gun, and that's it. And I on my side, I will add here an underscore, and you don't need to do that. The only reason why I'm doing that is so that I can see where I actually added the inventory to our scripts, so that I don't forget to show you the scripts where you need to make changes. So to our shooting script, as you can see inside start, I changed that from the weapon database to inventory instance, and then I added here the inventory. Okay, so I simply refactored that. Same for the instantiate here, simply changed that to the inventory. So simply pause the video here and retype that. And then inside set weapon, again, I simply changed that from weapon database again to inventory. Same for here the instantiate part. And then inside reloads, I added a few lines of code here. I said the magazine size should be equal to the inventory instance original magazine size, and so this is basically the int that we added in the beginning of this episode, and then I said that we will come back to this again and we'll explain to you why we need to do that. So here we set the magazine size to original magazine size, which will be 32, and then we say ammo minus the original magazine size. Okay, and then down here I say inventory instance inventory ammo equals to ammo, and the same for the magazine equals to magazine. So whenever we basically are finished reloading our weapon, we take the ammo from our inventory and set this to the current ammo that we have inside our script, and we manipulate that here by saying minus original magazine size. I added also these comments here, so we manipulate the current ammo and magazine size on the shooting script. And for example, if we have 64 bullets inside our ammo and minus that by 32, we have still 32 bullet or ammo bullets left. And then we need to store that, right? We need to set the inventory ammo, which is set to 64 still, to 32. And it's set to 32 because we minus that here at the top. And the same for the magazine, okay? And then the only thing you also need to do is to head over to scroll weapon script, and then also here change the shoot script logic here from a weapon database to inventory. Same for here. And then down here where we use the minus value, you also need to change that. So again, this is not a new logic or anything except for the reload part. We just refactor here a few lines of code. Okay, so back to our scroll weapon script. The reason why we need to do that, why we need to say inventory inventory magazine equals to shoot script magazine, is so that whenever we switch the weapon, okay, so when I switch to the next weapon, this will be called, and this will set the current magazine size that we have. For example, I don't know, 5 bullets left, okay, this will set this inside our inventory script, because we grab the shoot script, we say, hey, whatever is inside our shoot script magazine, set it to 5. And because of that, we need to create an original public int, okay, for the magazine size. Because we manipulate the magazine size, if we would just use the magazine size that we have, for example, if we would have like only 5 bullets left and reload that, it would then only minus 5 bullets from our ammo. And that's not something we want. We always want to use the original magazine size. Hope that makes sense. So make sure to head over to weapon database script and then add here for every single weapon the original magazine size. So I simply copied everywhere the magazine size and paste it inside the original magazine size. Okay, pretty much straightforward. And I on my side need to remove here the underscore in order to make this again work. And yeah, that's basically all we have to do in order to have an inventory system that basically stores the current ammo and magazine size. So once I hit play, just like I showed you in the beginning of this episode, walk around, shoot, and it will always store the current ammo size and the magazine size. Alright, so the last thing I want to do before I finally wrap up here this episode is to include also a system so that we can reload our magazine even though we are not empty. Right now we can only reload our magazine once we have reached 0, but if you look at pretty much any FPS project out there, you know probably that you can also reload your magazine even though you have not reached 0. Okay. So let's take care of that, and once we have finished that, we are pretty much finished with all the FPS mechanics inside our project, which is pretty awesome. Let's get started. So inside our shooting script, first off, inside Visual Studio, I cleaned up all the files here. I basically removed them so it looks a little bit more cleaner. And then inside Reload, I also removed all these empty spaces I had here, so it looks a little bit more cleaner. And then let me quickly increase this here a little bit so it's easier for you to see. And then let's get started. Right now we are saying, hey, if the magazine is 0 and we press the R key, well, do all that logic here and check also if we still have ammo left. So down here where we close the brackets from the if statement here, I will create another else if. And here we say, hey, if the magazine is greater than 0, and we press input, get key down, key code R, we want to do something. And we can pretty much copy here everything from the top and paste it in. And then let's also change here debug log so that we have a different reference here. So reloading, not empty gun, I guess. And then we want still to check if we still have ammo left. And for now we just leave the animation here, although we will change that because this package that we are using has basically 2 different animations, basically depending on if you are out of ammo or not. But for now, let's just focus on the logic that we have down here. So if we have still bullets left inside our magazine, we want to do something different. So instead of saying, hey, magazine equals to original magazine size, we want to remove that, and let's calculate here a new int called difference, and then we will take the original magazine size and minus that by the magazine that we have. So what we are doing here is basically we're saying if we shoot like 1 bullet or 2 bullets, this will be then equal, since our original magazine size is 32, this will be then equal of course to 30 bullets, right? And because of that, we can then use that and say we only want to subtract the difference that we have between our original magazine size and the magazine itself from our ammo. Okay, and then we also want to set our magazine, once we have subtracted that from our ammo, set again to our original magazine size. Okay, so with that it should already work. Okay, so when I hit now play and shoot just like 1 round or 2 rounds. It should only subtract these 2 rounds from our ammo size, and at the same time our magazine size should be set back to 32. So I shoot 1 round and press R, so our ammo size should be at 127, which is the case, and our magazine size is back at 32. Alright, so this works. Let's shoot 1 more round. 125. Okay, I guess I will shoot now 10 rounds. Actually, 11 rounds in this case, and now we have reached 113, right? So everything is working. If I shoot just 2 rounds, it's 112 again. 2 rounds should reach 110, and so on. Alright, so this obviously works already, which is pretty awesome. But what if I empty the magazine completely, or just a few rounds, and then press reload, and then again press reload until we basically reach 0. A few more rounds. If I press now R, our ammo size is now uneven, right? It's now below the original magazine size of 32. So what happens now if I empty the magazine and then press R? Well, it will reach 0 or minus, actually a minus number, in this case -9, and our magazine size will be still set to 32. Okay, so obviously we need to change something inside our logic. So here at the top, where we have our first argument, if our magazine is empty and we still have ammo, we want to check also if the ammo is greater or 0 to the original magazine size. Okay, so with that we make sure, hey, we only want to apply this logic if we still have enough bullets left inside our ammo. But if that's not the case, we want to do something else. So I will copy that, paste it here in one more time, and then instead of saying magazine equals to the original magazine size, I would say the magazine is equal to the ammo, and then we want to subtract the ammo from the ammo. Okay, so let's just, I guess, adjust the second weapon. I will increase here the shooting timer to 0.001 so that I can empty quickly the magazine. Second weapon. I also changed, by the way, the ammo sizes. Okay, so our ammo size is now at 11, so it's uneven, it's below the original magazine size. So if I shoot now this magazine empty and press R, our magazine size should now be set to 11 and our ammo size should be 0. And there we go, it worked. Okay, but what if I do basically the same, but basically when we are not at 0? So again, second gun, reloads. Okay, so if I shoot now just, for example, 4 rounds, press R, you see it still goes below or minus to -1. Okay, so we also need to add quickly a logic here down here. So what we basically need to do is, we can just copy that here from the top, where we already say, hey, if we are over the original magazine size, and then where we have our else if statement, we can paste that here in, just like we already are doing here at the top, and we'll wrap up this here inside these brackets. But if that's not the case, so if we are with our ammo below, well, we need to copy that. And basically what we need to do here is we need to change the way we subtract that. So we still need our difference, because we basically only call this if we are not at 0 with our magazine. So we still need to calculate what the difference is. So if we are smaller than the original magazine size, we want to do something different here. So first off, we need to make here another if statement and say, hey, if the ammo minus the difference is greater than 0, well, then we want to basically just do the same as we did before. Set the magazine, actually we have the line here down here, so I can just copy and paste it in, remove that from there, and set the ammo to the minus the difference. We can normally subtract that, okay, since this will not reach 0. But if our magazine or our ammo is minus the difference is actually smaller than 0, so if we would subtract that and this reaches a minus number, we want to do something else. Well, what we want to do instead is we want to say the magazine should be magazine plus the ammos or the bullets we have left inside our ammo. And then we want to set the ammo to 0, since we have subtracted the last bullets that were left. Okay, so with that, I should be able to shoot like, I don't know, a few rounds, so that we have, for example, just 3 bullets left. And when I have, let me actually show you this quickly, I think. This way it's much more easier to explain. So, second gun, I shoot a few rounds. Okay, so we have only 6 bullets left now, okay? So, first off, if I just shoot now 2 rounds, this should, our ammo size should be at 4. That's the case, so it works, right? If I shoot like 10 rounds, normally this would go to a minus number before, right? But now it should add the 4 bullets that we still have left inside our ammo to our magazine, which would then equal into 22 bullets, and our ammo should be set to 0, which is the case, which is pretty awesome. If I press R, nothing happens, that's good. And again, if I try to reload once we're empty, it's still not working. Alright, so we have done all of that. It's pretty awesome, right? I guess the last thing I will do here quickly before I finally wrap up this lesson is to add the second animation that we have inside this awesome package. So let's head over to the low poly FPS folder, meshes, arms, assault rifle, and down here there are 2 animations, just like that. The ammo left animation, and then again the animation reload out of ammo that we are currently using. So we will only want to play this once we reach 0, and play the other animation once we reload our magazine when we are not empty. I will rename that to reload ammo. Then let's create here a new parameter, a trigger called ammo reload. And I misspelled that, ammo reloads. And then I will make the transition back and forth, and then we want to have exit time unchecked for a transition to reload ammo. And then we also need to add to the condition ammo reloads, and for the transition back we want to make sure that has exit time is checked. And so with that we can pretty much quickly change the logic for set trigger. So if we have reached 0, we won't play this animation, that's fine. And down here we want to change that to reload ammo everywhere. Since this is only called once we reload if we still have enough bullets left inside our magazine. And normally this should already work, so when I reload now the gun with bullets left in the magazine, it should play the standard reload animation. So I press R and nothing happens. Why is that so? Ammo reload. Okay, I misspelled that. It's called ammo reload, so always make sure to use the correct trigger name that you set it up here inside the parameters, otherwise it won't work, obviously. So now when I shoot like a round, we should play the standard animation. There we go, without the trigger pullback. But once we reach 0, it should play the second animation where it pulls back the trigger, which is the case, which is pretty awesome. Now the only issue that we still have is that I can play the reload animation even though we have not shot one round. So we need to add here down where we say else if magazine is greater than 0, we need to add here magazine is not equal to the original size. Okay, so that we are saying, hey, if the magazine is greater than 0 but not set to 32 or to the original magazine size, and we press the R button, do all of that logic. So with that, this issue should be gone as well, so we no longer should be able to play the reload animation, or in fact try to reload the magazine when we haven't shot a round. So if it's set to 32, I don't want to be able to reload the gun. So if I press R, nothing happens, but if I just shoot one round, it works. Alright, so we have pretty much finished our project so far. We can walk around, we can look around, we can run, we can use our aim down sight, we can shoot. We have a dynamic reloading system based on if we have magazines, bullets inside our magazine left or not. It plays different animations depending on that. And we have a full working dynamic weapon system. We can easily remove and add new weapons. And while we are talking about that, let's do this here quickly as well. For our first gun, since this package has actually 2 different guns, one is called, or the second one is called handgun. I guess we will use handgun for our first gun. And as you can see, since we have created a super dynamic system, this works right out of the box. Now there are a few things that you need to adjust. For example, the aiming downside. That's because it's a little bit set off. So just like I said, you probably need to create a separate gun holder for that. But we can shoot, right? The animations are not playing. That's because our arms for the handgun has, if we just drag and drop that quickly to our scene, no animated controller. So we need to create a separate animated controller for that. To make this episode not too long, I will wrap it up here, and that will be something for the next episode where we will add also our handgun, I guess. And just like I said, we are pretty much finished with all the FPS mechanics. I hope you guys enjoyed so far. It was super fun for me as well, to be honest. And I guess in the next episode we will then take care of the handgun, just like I said, so that we are loading for our second gun, maybe the handgun instead of just the current gun that we are using. And then we will also take care finally of some enemies. Okay, right now we just have these cubes here and they work, but it would be nice to have some chasing enemies. Okay, and with the next episode, besides some bug fixes maybe in the future or some extra features, we will be pretty much finished with everything. just like I said, we have a full working FPS project. And yeah, as always guys, thanks for watching and see you maybe next time. Bye.